We have to go back, Kate. We have to go back!
J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof have made very successful careers for themselves by convincing the audience to ask questions. Simple questions, leading questions, oblique questions. Their success or failure, depending on who you're talking to, can be attributed to a simple concept: the mystery box. The creators behind Lost, one of the most successful and enduring TV shows of the past 2 decades, are both obsessed with the simple premise that if you show someone a box, they'll want to know what's inside of it.
What's in the box?
Through the Looking Glass Parts 1 and 2 are often considered the high point of Lost. This pair of episodes, which closes the 3rd season and opens the 4th, are a perfect illustration of how the human mind is constantly in search of answers to questions. These 2 episodes execute a simple formula: drop the audience into the middle of a mystery in progress and leave them wanting to know answers in both directions. Over the course of the series, this technique became the driving force for storytelling, and while the strategy fell flat at times, many believe Through the Looking Glass to be the episode of Lost that perfected the mystery box. Right off the bat, the episode begins with a heavily bearded and brooding Jack Shephard off of the island, in what we can only assume is another flashback sequence that the series has come to be known for. Over the course of the finale, these flashbacks display Jack's tumultuous journey into rock bottom and becoming more and more like his alcoholic father. Immediately, these scenes raise many questions. How did Jack reach the point of despair before arriving on the island? Who was the mysterious deceased friend Jack read about in the paper? And how does this all connect to our overall story? This is a prime example of how the mystery box works, as these seemingly unrelated events are revealed in the episode's cliffhanging final scene to be the show's first ever use of flash forwards the entire time.
We have to go back!
This is a major movement in the overall series, as the idea of flash forwards first came to the creators Damon Lindelof and J.J. Abrams during the show's conception. However, Lindelof and writer Carlton Cuse only started to flesh out these ideas at the end of the 1st season, after they realized that the flashbacks would eventually stop being revelatory and knew that they would at some point have to utilize flash forwards. Back on the island, the survivors of Flight 815 find themselves in a dire situation as Saeed, Jen, Bernard, Charlie, and Desmond embark on life-or-death missions in order to help their friends secure a rescue while preparing to go to war with the others, the island locals led by the heartless and calculating antagonist, Ben. The plotline cunningly wraps up several storylines while setting up certain characters on paths that will lead them through to the series finale. One of the major plotlines from this episode concludes the story arc about Charlie's death, which began earlier in the season with Desmond's prophecies. In true Lost fashion, Charlie's death is not just one of the most heartbreaking moments in the series, but also a major plot point. In this scene, Charlie finally makes contact with Penny, whom we assume is en route to rescue the survivors. Moments before Charlie's inevitable demise after Mikhail ignites a grenade outside of the Looking Glass, Penny reveals that she is not on a boat and does not know who is coming.
I'm not on a boat! Who's Naomi?
In a tragic sequence of events made even more ominous by the show's brilliant score, Charlie protects Desmond from Mikhail's explosion and delivers the message that became a popular tattoo for die-hard fans: not Penny's boat. This moment has solidified itself in television history as one of the most iconic on-screen deaths of a main character, and simultaneously drives the story forward with the revelation that the Lost's chance at survival are not what they seem. The first half of this finale ends on John Locke, who had just been shot and lies symbolically in a mass grave. Paralleling Jack's hopelessness from the episode's cold open, Locke, who had just lost the use of his legs again, finds an old gun on one of the corpses and contemplates taking his own life. Just like Jack, a last-minute occurrence stops John from following through, though a premonition of an older Walt, who hadn't been seen since the 2nd season, delivering an ominous warning.
Now get out of the ditch, John.
Why?
Because you have work to do.
This is another occurrence where the mystery box formula works for our story. What is the importance of Walt? What is John's mission, and how does it fit with our overall story arc? The reason this works so well isn't because questions are finally being answered, but rather Jack's reaction to Locke's questionable choices. Nearing the end of the episode, Locke pops up out of nowhere to kill Naomi in an attempt to stop an extremely frustrated Jack from making contact with the nearby boat and securing a rescue. At this moment, we are practically screaming at our television sets, demanding an explanation for Locke's motives. Why is he siding with Ben on this? What does he know that we don't? Although these questions don't get answered in this season, we discover in the flash-forward scene that Jack has had a change of heart when he declares to Kate that
We have to go back!
at some point between their rescue and this flash-forward, something has changed in Jack, and he now realizes that they were never meant to leave the island, at least not at that time. While Lost is not known for its subtlety, the opening of the second half of Through the Looking Glass pays homage to itself when Jack attends the visitation of his unnamed deceased friend. After discovering nobody else shows up to pay respects, Jack has a moment with the lone coffin. At this point, the mystery box takes a more literal approach to having fans somewhat channel their inner Brad Pitt to ask,
What's in the box?
while this question doesn't get answered until season 4, keen viewers may notice that a haunting shot of Jack placing his hand on the coffin while the several rows of chairs behind him remain empty is reminiscent of the protagonist's favorite phrase.
We can't live together. We're gonna die alone.
It appears that whomever lies inside this coffin has indeed died alone, and Jack may be closely behind. The following segment showcases the brilliance of Michael Emerson as the diabolical Ben Linus, and the raw emotion that encompasses Jack when Ben and Alex intercept the Losties on their way to the radio tower. Par for the course, Ben has a deceitful exchange with Jack that plays more like an active chess game than a conversation. During the exchange, Ben makes remarkable revelations in an attempt to gain Jack's trust and do his bidding. But when Jack does not comply, he reveals that he has Saeed, Jen, and Bernard at gunpoint and has them executed over the walkie for Jack to hear. Beyond hope, Jack resorts to the only thing he can do at the moment: beat Ben to a bloody pulp. This scene is riddled with smaller scale mystery box references as Ben toys with Jack's and the audience's emotions, creating an art form of half-truths and subliminal manipulation to get what he wants, even if it does not always go as planned. It is revealed after his short-lived showdown with Jack that even his orders to execute the 3 men left behind were a strategic chess move put into motion before he encountered the Losties, leaving us to ask, why did he keep them alive? What exactly is Ben's game, and why does he think Naomi's people will be the end of the island? This is just another example of how Ben is always 3 steps forward, even when it appears that he is 2 steps back. Through the Looking Glass is an episode of Lost that continues to weave a tangled web through powerful storytelling and a successful use of the mystery box formula, which can be a hit or miss, as evident by J.J. Abrams and David Lindelof's later projects, Star Trek Into Darkness and HBO's Watchmen. In the case of Star Trek Into Darkness, the central mystery does not reveal any new information that's inherent to the story being told, but instead attempts to provide fan service based on pre-existing entries in the series. However, Lindelof's Watchmen can be used as an excellent source of the mystery box, being used correctly. Its complex writing, intense action, and heart-wrenching performances kept the audience distracted from its slow burn pace, until wrapping up its story in the season's epic conclusion with profound explanations that left fans satisfied. In turn, Lost was also not safe from the risky use of the mystery box. This can be mostly attributed to the fact that the Lost showrunners didn't actually have a clear ending in mind from the beginning. To write an effective mystery, you need to know the answer ahead of time, and if you don't, you're setting your story up for failure. In the case of Lost, primary writers David Lindelof and Carlton Cuse have admitted in interviews that while they had many of the show's major plot points figured out in advance, they never intended to solve every question presented, meaning a lot of the time was spent on story threads and details that didn't add up in a way that was logically or emotionally satisfying in the end, at least for many viewers. However, this episode is a 2-hour emotional roller coaster that left us heartbroken and confused. Charlie is dead. If Jack and Kate got off the island, who else escaped? And who is on the boat if not Penny? It's not enough to deliver an intricate episode of television with explosions to warrant audience attention. We must feel a connection to the characters and care about their outcomes. But through expert writing and fleshed out characters whose loyalty to each other will pull even the coldest heartstrings, the creators of Lost have managed to do just that. And well, that's it for today's episode. Leave a comment and let me know what other perfect episode you'd like to see me recap next. And while you're here, might as well subscribe to Nerdstalgic and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.